Well, welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Stacy Holweger. I'm so excited that you decided to join us this evening. I have a fantastic guest. We started last week with kicking off a four-part series on fitness and athletes and athletic performance and talking about what these patches can do. And I know last week when Jamie and I were in Cancun, you heard from Laura and Leah, who are senior presidential directors in my organization. Laura is a personal trainer, a strength and conditioning coach, and Leah is a row coach. And I know they shared with you how these patches can help and benefit from their perspective and what they've noticed as well, not only in themselves, but their clients. And tonight, I'm going to interview and have you listen to Jamie Peterson. And Jamie and I, we met, was it last year conference? I think it was. We met last year.
Yeah.
Marcy introduced us, and then we got to spend some time together last week in Cancun. She and her husband were there on the incentive trip with LifeWave, and of course, my husband and myself and our team were there as well too. So Jamie and I, just talked a little bit about the patches and the technology and whatnot. And I thought, this would be great if you don't mind if I interview you. I love hearing from new people. I know I interviewed you, gosh, months ago with your personal testimonial. So you guys are going to really be in for a treat when you hear Jamie share that as well. But she's going to talk to you from the perspective of a personal trainer and a yoga instructor. She's been a personal trainer for 15 years. She's been a yoga instructor for 10 years and a senior director with LifeWave for almost a year now. It'll be a year in June that she joined. So before I introduce Jamie and let her, share with you all her background and where she came from, and of course her experience with this, and we'll get into her clients and whatnot too. I want to make sure you understand that I'm not a medical doctor, and I do have a PhD in integrative medicine, a PhD in functional medicine, but the word medicine does not mean medicine as in writing prescriptions. I focus in holistic types of medicines and alternative modalities. And so LifeWave is the information we're going to be talking about tonight. And that technology is not intended to treat or cure or diagnose you with anything. So please check with your medical doctor, practitioner, whoever it is that you work with your health if you have specific questions in regards to that. A little bit later on, we will be doing a Q&A, but I'm going to ask you to please keep your questions geared towards what Jamie can answer with personal training, with physical, athletic, recovery, strength, stretching, stamina, endurance, things like that. What would those types of things, questions you have, pain, I'm sure, of course, is going to come up as well, too. That always ends up happening when we get in the gym sometimes, right? From time to time, something happens. So we're not going to go more down the, what do you use for this neurological type of condition, right? We did a 4-part series last month with 4 different female doctors and practitioners, and they dove deep into all of that stuff. So if you're interested in getting those types of questions answered, go to my YouTube channel. It's DRSTACI, so Dr. Stacy, and you can watch those 4 recordings from March and the beginning of April. So Jamie, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out. I know you're in Central Time Zone, so it's a little crazy, with kids in bedtime. So if they're coming in, I'm totally fine with that. If he wants to share why he's patching, that's awesome too. So just be a mom and share with us, what was going on in your life. Give me your background, give me your history, give me all the stuff that you shared on the Zoom, months ago, and take us, up to date from there where you are with LifeWave.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Stacy. So I've been born and raised in Minnesota, and 2 active parents. So I grew up really active and stayed active through part of my high school year. And then I kind of got burned out. And then I was introduced to a teacher in a health class, and by my senior year, she kind of led me in a really more of a direction of wanting to be not only physical, just from like playing sports perspective, but like what can you do to like drive you like on a mental level and like go a little bit deeper. And so that really spurred me into wanting to get back into like my health and wellness piece. So that year of high school really turned a corner for me. I didn't realize it. And then throughout college, I actually went down a different path, but then came back to my fitness career and wanting to like really pursue it when I was like 20-ish. And I then decided to start teaching group fitness classes and started getting a little bit more into like what I was eating and why that mattered. And then from there, I decided that personal training was going to be something that was going to be a part of my life. And people just really inspired me to want to go down that direction and whatnot. It wasn't until the birth of my first son, who is almost 10 now, that I really started not only looking at physical fitness as just a thing you do, but also the holistic side of how fitness can really encompass your body. And so yoga was a part of my life a little bit before he was born. And then, but I really like kind of started rooting down with that piece as well. And once I learned about some issues that he had with we had some skin issues and whatnot with that, holistic medicine really came into our lives more and more. And we went through many things with him. And I then decided I needed to take care of myself as well. And through working with a bunch of holistic practitioners, one of them came up to me at one point when we were at a seminar with her, and she handed me this little white disc. And I was like, what's this? And she actually handed it to me for my husband. And she was like, he's a mess and he needs to wear this. And I didn't understand what it was. And I kind of actually shoved it off to the wayside for about a year, not understanding or knowing what it was going to do or be for us. And it was, God definitely put little blips into my world throughout that year of people reintroducing it to me. And then a good friend of mine, Kate, she actually is the reason that I really started using these, because she was having issues with her sciatica. And because of her sciatica, she was able to start using the patches there, and she was a one patch wonder. And I said, well, if you can have these changes, I think maybe I can. And so I knew I wanted to try them out with my kids and my husband and everyone else, but I was like, I'm going to try them first. And I had chronic neck and shoulder pain for at least 15 years. And it was awful. I mean, I wasn't sleeping at night. I felt like I was going to vomit at times. It was horrible. And so I started patching my shoulder on the right side. And so all I started with was X39 and Aeon, those two, that was it. And I was like, okay, about 1 week in, my pain was 50% gone. 3 weeks in, 90% gone. So I was like, already like, is this really happening? Like, I couldn't even believe it, because I was dealing with this pain for so long, and it was such an issue for such a long part of my life. And it almost became like, a lot of people, unfortunately, like they think it's normal. Like you're just supposed to live like this. And it's just not a way of life that you have to be in pain or feeling crummy all the time. And unfortunately, all the holistic stuff that I was doing just wasn't getting to the root of what I needed it to be, which was inflammation. And that's why the Aeon patch, because I could go to the chiropractor and it would feel great, but the chiropractor wasn't able to like get it to stay away. And the Aeon patch, because of the inflammation, brought it down. And that piece was so huge for me, because being a trainer and yoga instructor, I wasn't able to I was slowly not doing things anymore. Like doing a chaturanga wasn't even something I could do anymore, because it hurt my shoulder every time I did it. Anytime I did a shoulder press overhead, started hurting, stuff like that. And it's like, this is awful. Like, this is what I do for a living, and I can't even do it for myself, but I'm trying to tell my clients and the people I work with, this is what you should do to stay strong and do these things. So that piece was huge for me, to be able to have that piece of my life back. I've had a couple flare-ups, and LifeWave has been just amazing for that piece. I remember the first time I used it and I patched and I was like, okay, let's see what this does. Like, is this really going to do anything? And I was like, literally after like a minute, maybe not even, all of a sudden it was like, this is my best term that I use to describe this for people, is the pain melted, like literally melted away out of my shoulder. Anything that I had been feeling was gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff works. Like, this is real. And I'm not having to take an aspirin like I used to have to do because of the pain being so bad. So that piece was just amazing for me. As far as like with my clients and using it with them, like I've been able to have such amazing things happen with them as far as they can like do workouts better now, and they're able to recover on a quicker level because we use like X39 and X49, the combination of the two. So the muscle recovery is there. I love my favorite three that I use with most people is X39, Aeon, and Glutathione, because those three to start have been such an impact for people to really get the cells up and running, get them working, and have the body start to do what it's supposed to do. And then have that Aeon fight and get away that inflammation that our bodies are just so overrun with. And then have that glutathione really pull and get rid of and detox and then bring in the good stuff that our body just needs naturally. So it's like I'm just feeling like so much gratitude towards finding this technology and having it introduced to me multiple times and finally just saying, okay, let's try it. Like, let's try it and see what happens. And here I am now being able to share my story and so many other people's stories because of it. So
Thank you for what you've shared so far. That I've got so many things I'm like cataloging in my head. Okay, I want to go back and talk about that. So amazing. So let's go back to why you pushed that person off, or the other people, the other signs that were coming to you. Like, why did you not just say yes? So for me, when I saw this, it was like, boom. Yes, how much is it? I don't care. Give it to me. I'm out the door now. Like when the man told me, I didn't even know the man. When he told me what it did, I'm like, I'm in. It activates these cells responsible for repairing, regenerating for my daughter. Done, done, done. So tell me from your perspective, because we're all different. And there's so many people on here right now. We've got almost 500 people listening. And of course, we'll have thousands on the replay. So many people are skeptical. They say no. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, was it from your personal training yoga background? Did you feel like it had to be more PT, stretching, or medicine type, allopathic medicine? What made you say no for a year?
Honestly, I didn't understand it. It wasn't explained to me. The technology, like the person that handed it to me, she just handed me the patch and she didn't give me the whole, like, this is what it's going to do for you. Like, she mentioned cell regeneration, but like I just didn't get it. Like, I was like, it's a Band-Aid. Like, you're literally handing me this white Band-Aid. And so that's where, for me, whenever I tell someone about this, I'm very like, you have to understand it's not a Band-Aid, first of all. And I really try to just, like, as quickly as possible explain, like, this is a patch. It's going to regenerate your cells. It's going to help the body to heal internally, and it's going to do stuff that you don't even know it's doing on so many different levels. So that's what, and I always try to tell people, like, there's this main patch, and I always like turn around and I'm like, it's on the back of my neck, and I show it to them and like explain, like, this is why I wear it here. Actually, I have to take that off because I'm about my 12 hours right now. But yeah, so I always try to
like process. Like, if you're talking to someone for the first time, what do you say to them to explain this to them in that simple, easy way for them to understand without too much, but yet obviously not enough? So yeah. What do you say? Walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, today, honestly, I just talk to people at the gym all the time. Like, I'm constantly just having a conversation with people. And today I was like, hey, I saw these guys, they were sitting and doing some theragunning on their body and all over, and just was like, hey, I like to, like, good for you for doing that. Like, I'm glad you're theragunning. That's great that you're doing that. And they're like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this or I wouldn't be able to work out if I didn't do this. And I was like, well, have you heard of these? And I just kind of, again, turned around, showed them my patch, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what is it? And I just said, It's a patch that is non-transdermal and it helps to regenerate your cells. Like it's amazing and it can help make you less sore in the long run. And they're like, what? And it's, anyone that works out at the gym, like, of course, who doesn't want to be less sore? Like that's huge to be able to like not have that sore feeling all the time. I mean, I know that that's a big thing for me. And like what I've been able to even like expand my workouts with now has been crazy. I'm almost 42 years old and my workouts I think are better than I was when I was 32 years old. Granted, I was probably pregnant at that time, but still. But yeah, so yeah, that's, I mean, and then, then I just go off of what questions they have. And I try to like, again, I try to keep it simple. I don't want to like overly do something because if I overly do it, then I lose them right away. So I just try to explain like at least for the gym piece, like when I'm telling somebody about this, like this can really enhance what you're doing for your workout. We've really got to get rid of the inflammation in the body and we've got to boost those cells so that they want to start operating again. And I always explain like, now, it doesn't mean that something's going to happen to you overnight. Like it could be that your body is going to take some time because you might have something going on with your heart, a bigger organ in the body that really needs more help than that sore muscle that is bothering you right now. You need to like remember, and I explain like for every decade that you are old, like you got to give it that many months. Like those little pieces are really important for people to understand because otherwise, I mean, and I've had this happen to me where somebody's like, "Oh, it's not working. It's been 2 weeks." And I'm like, 2 weeks? I'm like, you literally like just started. Like you just started. Like your body's just going. But I think
we talked about that in the pool, remember?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
say to someone that says it's not working and they've been using it for 30 days.
Yeah. And I'm just like, you gotta give it time. Like, and that's all. I mean, I just like try to explain that to people, but it's hard because we live in this instant gratification society that you would take a pill and it works. Like, and luckily, LifeWave is kind of like that for people that are in pain. But I mean, not everyone has that overnight. Like my sciatica went away overnight. Like that does not happen to a lot of people. I mean, it happens to some, but not everyone.
You know how I relate this to in your spot, working out, working in a gym? I work out. My son works out. My husband works out some. But my son and I work out like crazy, right? But you can't expect to go to the gym for 2 weeks and be like buff and fit. You see changes over a long period of time. What do they say? 4 weeks for you to notice something, 8 weeks for maybe a spouse or a friend, 12 weeks for the world, possibly. Yeah. And then you look at 12 months and you're like, whoa, all right, that hard work paid off. And we have to look at this patch the same way, don't you think? It's the same thing. You may see some changes in the first 4 weeks, maybe. I mean, our clinical studies say 3 to 6 weeks, really. And we know nothing even happens to the heart until 6 weeks. So if you give it up at 4 weeks, you gave up the opportunity for your heart to even reverse its functionality at all. So do you feel that way too with the gym? Is there a correlation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's kind of like, even when I like have talked to like people in the past, like when they're losing weight, I always tell people, I'm like, you don't lose weight, unfortunately, from the bottom up. You lose it from the top. So like you're gonna start to notice a shift of like this piece and then this and then it's gonna go down the body.
Unfortunately, it goes here too. We're like, can we just skip this part?
Right.
Like do here, jump over here, and go down the sorry, right? Guys. But I'm sure the guys would agree too. We're all
I know, but that's just the what happens. But yeah, I mean, you got to give it time. The time thing is the biggest thing that people, I think, miss out on. And again, when I'm explaining this, anytime I'm talking to someone, I say, please don't give up on it. Like, and there, I mean, again, these guys that I was just talking to, one of them was like, wait, after I was like explaining, like, let's get you signed up, like whatever. And he's like, and one of the things he said is, wait, is this a network marketing company to me? And I think that that's another thing that people shy away from sometimes. And I think that's something that is really important to talk about because I think the way that David has explained it, that the reason why he made this as a network marketing company is because of people like me that want to talk about things like all the time with people. And I want to share this with people. And so I try to explain that to people all the time also is like, yes, this is a network marketing company, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that we want to share and we want to talk about it and we want to give our experiences and let people know that like I don't lead with that. It's not like I'm not going to explain like this is a network marketing business. That's why I'm talking to you. But I don't want people to think like that's the reason I'm talking to you either. Like the reason I'm talking to you, and I'd say this quite often, is because I want to help you. I want to make you feel better. I want your body to have a body age of 30 when you're 60. Like that's the most important thing.
Mhm.
So I always try to make sure that people understand that piece as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important because sometimes there is a stigmatism. Unfortunately, the last 10 years with social media, insanity. Let's all be
Yeah.
honest. We've all, had that happen probably. And so, you feel like you're being sold all the time and social media, TV, radio, everything. We think something in our phone is like, ooh, sending us ads. And
Yep.
so, people don't want that. But on the same token, you just like you said with David, that was not his modality of choice to get this product to the world. But it just kept happening. Every time he turned around, someone was referring him to someone else. They would hear about what he was doing. They say, hey, can you talk to so and so? I feel like this would be a good fit for them. They could benefit from your patches. And of course, 20 years ago, it was only energy enhancer. And he was working with the Navy SEALs and the USA Olympic swim teams. I mean, I don't know, pretty amazing athletes back then. And
Yeah.
it's crazy the way God works. And, that was what was divinely put in front of him was you can't put this on a shelf and expect someone to pick it up and figure out what it is or what to do with it. It's not a GNC product. It's not
Yep.
a, CVS product. It's not a Walmart product. This is a personal relationship product. This is I care about you. And maybe if the lady that introduced it to you initially would have come at you like that, like, hey, I care about you, or hey, I thought about you. I know how into fitness you are. This is a tool that you might be benefiting from, yourself or maybe someone you know. Could we have a conversation about it? And,
Yep.
and that's, I know, obviously, the way you approach people like, hey, I see you're doing something, you must be in pain. I've got something that can also help you that you don't have to be attached to, that you don't have to carry around with you. It's super accessible. And so being okay with the fact that we are referring things to people every single day, and 99% of the time, we don't actually get compensated for that. So we make all kinds of recommendations. My husband and my son are at a restaurant now based on a recommendation, from family members. And so then sister-in-law and husband, they're all out eating dinner and it's a recommendation, but that restaurant's not cutting anybody a check. Guarantee you they're all going to walk out with their own bill, right? And so it's beautiful that we can help each other. And most all of us do care about people. We care
Mhm.
about ourselves initially, right? How can this help me? How can this help my family members? Just like
Mhm.
I was with my daughter. And, how can this help? Okay, whoa, this can do this, then I've got to tell the world.
Yeah.
And that's not what this is about. We're not here doing a Zoom talking about telling the world, but it is important that you think me, right? I'm in my box, my bubble with my family, but we're in a situation right now, especially the last 4 years, where we don't have one single person on this planet right now that doesn't know someone that's seriously struggling, that's seriously having a hard time physically,
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, with what we've been dealt with the last 4 years, and especially physically and mentally, right? And emotionally. And so this is a way to be able to help someone get over that hump, get their quality of life back, and be able to enjoy the time they do have here because you don't know when it's gone. And we've
Yep.
all lost people, so we all know what that's like, and you just want to cherish every moment you have. So, Jamie, can you tell me a little bit about your family? Like your son had a patch on right here. You said the lady gave it to you for your husband. Talk to me a little bit about them. Why was it important? I know you wanted to test it first, but tell
Yeah.
me why it was important for them to use it.
So yeah, so I used it for on my own for probably about not even a month, and then I just started slowly putting these stickers on my husband, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Just, shh, just put it on," that kind of thing. And he just kind of goes with whatever I do. I'm lucky that way. Because a lot of people, I talk to a lot of women, and they say my husband just won't do that, and I'm like, just put it on him, like just put it on him. And they're like, no, he just won't. And I'm like, okay, well. So he was dealing with some, we actually met at the gym. And so we both enjoy working out, and like, that's a big part of our lives. And, he was dealing with some tennis elbow, and it had been a while, probably about a year, like on and off, that it was really bothering him. And so I started just, again, X39 Aeon, those two things, just to start him. And the tennis elbow went away. So I was like, okay. Then after I started really understanding more about the company and how it worked, I was like, and how each patch works individually, because I didn't understand anything at first. I did a lot of watching of Dr. Stacy and just kind of a lot of my own research to figure out like what these were doing and why these were working in the way that they were for people. And so my husband, when our first son was born, he had a pulmonary embolism. And so he was 42 years old. And we honestly still to this day don't know what caused it. The doctors say that stress can't cause that, but I have my own personal opinion on that. And I think it was a stress-induced thing. So I started putting carnosine on him because I was like, we really need to we don't know what's going on. I mean, he was on blood thinners for a little while and he did get off of them from the doctor saying he was okay to do that. But I was like, we still have no idea why that came to you at such a young age. He had 12 clots that were in him. Yeah, 12, 12. And they passed through his heart and he did not. And so it's like a miracle that he's still here. And so I started carnosine with him, and then I used X39 also just because of the working out piece as well. But those were like the main ones that I used with him. But our son, the reason that we really got into the holistic, or I really got into the holistic aspect of things. So when he was about 3 months old, right about the same time, literally as my husband went into the hospital for his pulmonary embolism, he got really sick and started showing signs of a rash all over his body. And I didn't know what was going on, and first time mom, and felt super helpless. And, went to my pediatrician at first, and I wasn't able to really get answers. And finally I found someone that kind of was able to give us some answers through some muscle testing and some other type of, holistic modalities. And, basically, we learned that he had some really awful candida that was yeast growing inside of him, and it was coming out and expelling through the skin. And we were able to deal with it and handle it. But I know that he's dealt with these issues since then. They just can pop up really easily with him, and which is gut. I mean, it's gut. So I was like, we need to start patching him with Aeon and glutathione, because I needed to get rid of whatever his body was holding as far as inflammation goes. And we're super clean with the food that we eat. We're very cautious about the food that we put in, and I'm really careful with him, and I have been since the moment he started eating solid foods. But you can only do so much, right? Like, we're exposed to the pesticides that are sprayed on our lawns, where, the food that we eat, even though we eat organic, there's still stuff on it. We just can't control everything. So I knew that I needed to help his little gut to heal. And so Aeon, glutathione, and then he actually had a little heart murmur as well. And I actually didn't think about carnosine until we go once a year for a little well check, just to make sure that our kids are, growing and doing whatever. And the doctor was like, oh yeah, there's that heart murmur. And I was like, why didn't I think of this sooner? I'm like, I'm going to put that carnosine patch on him. And in a year from now, when we go in for our next well check, I'm going to have her tell me that heart murmur is gone. I'm fingers crossed. So that's what that's what we're doing for him. My little one doesn't struggle with stuff as much, but I will say that if my kids get sick, second they say my throat hurts, my tummy hurts, you better believe Aeon and glutathione are going on those kids within seconds.
Now, Trey's almost 20, and we came back from Cancun, and Brent's like, oh, my throat's a little scratchy. And Trey's like, oh, my nose is a little stuffy. I'm like, seriously, here's 2 glutathione for you. Here's 2 glutathione for you. Drink this oil and spray this silver. Tell me when you're fine.
Yep, that's literally, I mean, it was funny because my dad stayed with the kids while we were in Cancun, and I left like an arsenal of all the stuff, but the patches were sitting right there. Like, if they get sick, this is what you put on them.
Yes, this is it. Yeah, Trey today, he woke up yesterday with a little, he's like, Mom, I'm a little stuffy. My nose is running. I said, Are you sick? He goes, No, 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 not sick. Nope, we're not sick. You just got a little runny coming up. Okay, 2 glutathione on your body right now. Trey
Yep.
only patches his hips. He has hair, and so he's 20. So he patches his hips. So he puts 1 glutathione on each side of the hip, not in the butt. That's where he does his X39 goes on one hip, his X49 goes on the other, carnosine goes on one hip. I don't know. He's a hip patcher for some reason.
Hey,
That's what he does.
my husband doesn't like it when I put it below his belly button. It hurts when I take it off. And I'm like, you're fine. I had 2 kids. I home birthed 2 kids. You cannot put a patch under your belly button.
Yeah, we're gonna rip that hair off every day and enjoy every second of it.
Yes, yes.
Some of the women are dying laughing with us right now. No offense, men. We know when you get the man flu. That's why I was overly patching both of my men, because I'm like, no time for man flu, no time for anyone to be on the couch. And obviously they're both fine. They're out to dinner right now. Yes. Okay. So for me, I patched, I'm just going to say this. The first person I patched was my child, being special needs in a wheelchair, nonverbal, requiring full care. So she couldn't talk to me or anything like that and tell me how she was feeling. And of course, Trey was the second child that I patched. And you have chose to patch your children, your son especially, but your husband, you have blended family, right? How many kids do you have? Like 6?
Yep. So we have 4 older kids and then the 2 little ones.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of people there in that family that you're taking care of, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of mental and emotional responsibilities as well, too, as making sure you're taking the best care of all of them, you and your husband. So that's fantastic. And so, people ask all the time, is it safe to patch your kids? And let's just share real quickly for people. Number one, it's your personal choice. Okay. That is your personal choice, what you do, just like it is your personal choice to drive through the drive-through and get the McDonald's French fries and a Big Mac and a Coke and all that. Personal choice. Everyone has their personal choice. And, just like you, we're very conscientious of what we eat, making sure, we're trying to get the best. But God, you breathe, you walk outside and breathe and you think you're getting fresh air. And sometimes you're like, oh crap, look up in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about the patch. Like, why would you feel, I know why I would feel it would be safe to patch my child. And of course, we're not making any recommendations that you do, but why is this patch safe? You mentioned non-transdermal earlier. Why is that even you said your husband was patching and then, of course he came off of his blood thinner medication through that process. So what's in the patch?
Well, that crystal lattice, I mean, it's like the most amazing thing in the world. Like the fact that these patches, and that's what I love about them, is it's not like a birth control patch. It's not like a nicotine patch, that something's being put into me or my kids. And it's my body's own natural way with these peptides regenerating internally inside of me. So, and that's what, again, I love with clients that I talk to. I mean, anyone, whether it's a person that I literally just talk to off the street, which I've done quite a few times. But I mean, that these little things there's nothing scary in them. There's nothing in them. Like they're not going to hurt my kids. They're going to help my kids, if anything. And that's how I feel. We don't use Western medicine. So this is, to me, again, just like you said, you choose to do what you choose for your family. This is what we choose to do for our family, because we know that all the things that we've done in the past through holistic perspectives, this is what has really shifted for us and made everything change. I can't tell you how much I wish that I would have had these in our life the whole year before. We were dealing with, for the first time ever in our lives, my youngest son had ear infections back to back to back to back. And I don't know, I still to this day don't know why, but gosh, do I wish that I would have had the glutathione patch and the Aeon patch to be able to help support what was going on in his body a little bit more. So
I wish I would have had them 20 years ago.
Oh, I mean,
all of them would have been so beneficial, even before the release of X39. Yep. 39. So
Yep.
people all the time ask me, and I'm sure they do to you too. They're like, if this is so amazing, why have I never heard of it? How can this be a 20-year-old company? Why have I never heard of it? Like they know everything that's on the planet that exists. But how do you feel about that? Why is it that someone here locally, maybe in the United States, has just now heard of this technology, maybe in the last year or two, or just tonight, you're on for the first time tonight as a guest. Why is it you're just now hearing about this?
I don't think people are sharing it enough. Honestly, that's my like why like I just talked to another person today and he's a certified trainer and he was at the gym lifting and I introduced myself to him and I said, I see you here all the time. You like to work out. I have you ever heard of these? I mean, this is how I talk to people all the time. My husband like literally thinks I'm insane because of like me just introducing myself to random people. But I figure why not? Like all they're gonna do is either say yes or no to me and walk away with an amazing product, or they're gonna say, I don't care about that and she's crazy. Like it's not gonna hurt. That's my like biggest thing for people is like get out there and like share this with people. Like don't not talk about this. And because I think that's the biggest like hang up is that people like are too scared to mention it. And I don't know why, because if it's helping you and you know that it's helping you, or if it's so because I know there are people that they don't necessarily feel or see something, but like they know somebody that it has helped. So it's like, fine, you can't share your own personal story, but like you can share that person's personal story and all the stories that you've heard.
That
So
was me. When I found out about this 3 years ago, I instantly bought it for Taylor.
yeah,
100%. The man showed me his Whoop and his metrics with his anxiety and his sleep and his recovery. And he showed me how he thought it was a placebo and 3 months period of time. I'm like, great, great, Lance. So happy for you, buddy. I'm taking it right now. Like, just let me give you the cash. Because you just mentioned cellular activation. I'm in. And
yep.
I was in 100%. But a couple of days later, when my friend April told me about it for her symptoms she was experiencing with, high C-reactive proteins and whatnot. And she said, hey, there's a meeting in your area. David Schmidt, the inventor of this technology, is coming to speak. And I'm like, I'm in, right? I want to go hear from the inventor. I want to hear what this man has to say, even though
Yeah.
it's great that Lance had a recovery. He was a tennis pro coach. So it's fantastic for him. But that didn't really, it wasn't that. It was when I went that day, I listened to Dave, it was fantastic. But we had an hour of testimonials, okay? A full hour of people running to the front. We were in a room with 250 people. I was the youngest person. So the average age was like 65 to 85. And so they were running to the front, like running physically. And they were grabbing the microphone and sharing their like fast as they could their testimonial, right? And I mean, it was just hundreds of people. It felt like every single one of them in the room did. But I'm sitting there crying the whole time. I had my friend Laura, who you guys heard last week, Laura Balzer. She was there with me because she had cured herself 6 years ago of stage 3 breast cancer holistically. And so I'm like, Laura, come on, girl. This is the technology that I think you would love, right? This is right up
Yeah.
our holistic alleys. And we were just bawling. We were in tears. We were covered in goosebumps. And we're like, she goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to tell the world. I'm going to tell the world about these
I mean,
capsules.
yes, yes.
I had to. I'm like, I can't believe what I just heard. All these people's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I was like, okay, that's it. She goes, okay, well, if you're doing it, I'm doing it. I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just telling the world, So I decided to just tell the world, right? We're gonna tell the world about all the stuff, anyways. But I'm like, I'm not gonna get into any other aspect of it, right? And of course, then I was like, well, let me get into this a little bit bigger because I want to be able to not only me tell the world, I want to help other people tell the world. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why you
Yep.
and I are here, Jamie, because we want to tell people, but we also want to help other people tell people. And so we like to teach and train. You're a trainer. I was a teacher, right? 30 years ago. We like to teach and train people and help people and work with them. So I think that's important that, like you said, find your voice. Just get out there. The worst case scenario, they're going to say no, not interested. Best case scenario, you put a patch on someone and they get pain relief, within a minute or within a day or a week, and you've helped somebody be able to function. Because when you're in pain, you don't function. You don't sleep well. You're not a nice person. You're not happy. You're not high vibe. You're not running around living your best life. You're in pain, right? We've all been there where we've been in pain at times. And so if you can help someone just knock that pain, you know, and then you can go, okay, now what can this do? The longer you're patching, the more consistent you are with patching, you start knocking those things off your list, right? You start changing your life in a more dramatic way. And I really want you to talk, we've got some questions, but I really want you to talk about the X39 So can you share the difference between those two? I know you mentioned earlier athletic performance in the gym. You use the 39 Of course, my son does. I do. You know, what's the difference between those two?
So the 39 is going to help with that. Again, that helping to bring out those good cells that we want to start working again, and really getting those up and running and making the body to function like it. This is what I always tell people. Remember when you felt 20? Like how you felt when you were 20 years old? Like you could like stay up all night if you really wanted to, and somehow you still were able to function the next day and like be a human.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people with life think, oh, it's just my kids, that's why I'm tired. Or it's just like, you know, I had to work late or whatever as you get older. And it's like, no, that's actually because your cells aren't functioning properly anymore. Like this is what I've learned now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it wasn't my kids. Like my kids weren't like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say my kids don't tire me out, but like I'm 40 years old, 40, almost, well, 42. I don't feel that. So I feel weird even saying that, but I shouldn't feel like that. Like no. And now like seriously, Dr. Stacey, like it's almost like I stay up too late sometimes because I do have the energy to be able to do stuff. And my kids wake up early. Like we are early risers in this house. My oldest likes to get up at like 5:30 in the morning. And so, and before I would be just like, I can't wake up. Like I am exhausted and I can like get up and move now. Like my body works with me because I've got these cells up and running again like I was before. So I haven't done like my body age testing, but I would really like to do that. That's like my next thing on my scanning of everything. But anyway, so yeah, so the X39, that's what that's doing, is getting those cells to get up and running again so that you feel like a good human again.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 49 is going to just, I mean, I literally just shared about the 49 today because I just was like, what doesn't it do? It's helping with that muscle recovery. It's helping to build and boost your testosterone back to where those normal levels are supposed to be. And yes, women, you need that just as much as men do. That is so important. And I think women get so scared or shied away from that because it's like, oh, testosterone, I don't want to grow hair on my face. And it's like, yes,
bulky muscles.
yeah, no. And it's like, no, we need the testosterone. That's what's going to keep your hormone levels at balance. And we want that. So, I mean, there's so many women, their testosterone levels are the reason that their hormones are so out of whack. And that's something I didn't even share about, but my hormones were out of whack for 3 years. I had an awful cycle. I mean, I didn't even want to leave my house. Let's put it that way on the first 2 days. And, now it's like I have like a normal cycle. I can like go out and like be a human being with my kids again. And so that's a whole another topic for another day. But so, and then my favorite thing about that 49 though, is that it's protecting against the radiation that we are exposed to and we can't control any of it. So yeah, I mean, bone density also, bone density. I mean, my mom has her own amazing story that I am one day going to get her to come on and share. Her bone density levels have gone from awful, and through her doctor giving her the okay, she is now off all of her bone density medication.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long did that take?
She gets tested every 6 months for her bone density. She's been taking medication for 5 years that's supposed to be helping her bone density, but somehow her bone density was getting worse every year. And yeah, so now she's been patching. I want to say, so I started in June last year. She probably started in August. So it you know, it was about 6 months for her to be using the patches.
Last month.
Yeah, about 6 months. And I don't think she was using the 49 right away. I didn't, because again, I didn't understand them all at first. So I don't think I think I just had her using the Aeon and the X39 to start, and carnosine for dementia purposes. I was like, I don't want to ever watch my mom or have me go through that, because I watched both my grandmas go through it. So yeah, I bet she used the 49 for about 4 months, 4.5 months before she had her test done again. And yeah, when she called me after her test and everything, she was like, I can't even believe this. I can't. She's like, is this from the patches? And I was like, yes, mom, it's from the patches.
You know, on
So
the studies, we see around 60 days, some changes start to happen with, decreasing bone loss and in that little increases of bone density. At 12 months, it is off the charts. I had a lady yesterday, Sarah, she's a nurse practitioner, or Sunday up in Tampa, share her personal experience of the same thing, bad for years and years, right? From like genetic, hereditary kind of, all the family members had the same stuff kind of thing. And so she said at 3 months, her scan actually showed worse. Now she's using X39 49, but her bone density was worse at 3 months. At 6 months, everything was back to where it was, like, not worse, but the time before. At 12 months, whew, she went out of that category, like out of the category. You know what I mean? In quotation marks. And so she's like, it just keeps getting more and more bone density. The longer I'm patching, the bone density is getting. And you guys, when you look at longevity, like, you have to have bones, right?
yeah,
As people age, they have less lean muscle mass. So that muscle mass is not there to hold those bones where it needs to be. We have less bone, your bones are not as dense, which means they're not as strong and solid. And then you don't have the muscles. And then so you fall and you break, think about when you're a kid. I mean, I broke my wrist, right? When I was a kid, you break a bone, you get up and you just go, who was it that shared? I think was it Dr. Jennifer? She said the femur, one of the doctors I interviewed recently, she said the femur is like, no, I think it was Jill, the bloodiest bone, the biggest, bloodiest
yeah,
bone.
I listened to that. Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember which one. They were all so amazing. They just kind of run together. But the biggest, bloodiest bone you have. And if you're 5 and you snap that femur, no rods, nothing needed, and 30 days later, you don't even realize you had a broken bone, and you'll never know it for the rest of your life. But she said, at my age, in my 40s, if I snap that femur, that biggest, bloodiest bone in my body, I will have rods and I will never be right again for the rest of my life. And so that's how important it is that you protect your muscles and you protect those bones. And which is what I know, right? We have to lift some weights. You don't have to be pounding big heavy weights. You don't have to do the big CrossFit deadlift and all this stuff. You just got to lift some weights, right? You just got to do something to
walk outside.
Build lean muscle mass, right? Get that pounding movement. And we're not saying you got to go run, but you need to do something to lay down more bone. And the 3949 substantially do that. We have so many people that I've done my DEXA scan. My sister-in-law and her husband wanted to do it, so Brent and I went to do it. And the guy's like, whoa, you guys have a lot of bone density for 51, 2 years old. I was like, yeah, we use 3949 and we do lift weights, of course. So really, really important for longevity that we take care of those muscles and those bones. And I love what you said about Aeon reducing inflammation. If you got a diagnosis, you have inflammation. And so if you're in the gym or not, we want to keep those inflammatory markers down, right? When you can keep the inflammation down, like you said, you love the glutathione to help pull those toxins out. It's like the inflammation grabs hold of the toxins and keeps it all in your cells. Can you imagine a trillions of cells of inflammation and toxins like hanging out, right? So we want to get that stuff out of the body. We want to keep things moving and flowing. And not that you have to use all the patches. You're probably going, I want all the patches. X39 is always where we start. Aeon is always what we partner with it. That's the dynamic duo to be able to really help get the inflammation down, activate those cells that are responsible for repair and regeneration, get your body back on track, right? Get you going back in the right direction. Whether it takes you a week or a month or a year, whatever, time's going to go by no matter what. And, I had a lady this morning that messaged me, and she's one of the first people I told about patches 3 years ago. Serious health issues, 20 years, chronic issues. And I said, it's going to take time. You're just going to be patient. Well, she patched for 8 months with just X39. She didn't want anything else. And she's like, I just, I don't feel like it's working. So she's tried other things, right? She even did PRP. She texted me this morning. She goes, I'm in so much pain. I put LifeWave on. She took me a picture of her chest. Did I put it on right? And she said, I've got on X49. I got to get back on the patches because nothing else I've done's working. I'm thinking, girl, if you would have stayed patching for the 3 years that I've been patching, we could have knocked off significant amounts of chronic issues that you had. It's probably going to take, a couple years to get there, but God, that time's going by no matter what. And she's like, okay, I'm going to do it. I said, you're going to be committed. Like, I'm going to get you on your monthly subscription. We're going to get these patches every single month because I want you well. I mean, you're in your late 40s. You're not that old, to be dealing with something. So, okay, we've got about 8 or 10 minutes. So I've got some questions in here. Water. Obviously, we know the gym is important, but let's talk about just in general. Why is water so important when you're patching?
Okay, so I could go about 25 more minutes on this topic, but water, and I'm a big believer in the type of water, not just water.
Right.
Because like our water system is awful. And so I'm a big distilled water person. We do distilled, and then I add back the minerals into our water so that I make sure that we're getting the good ones and not the junky ones that our bodies then get clogged up with again. So the water thing is huge. I also am a big believer, and true component is electrolytes. So you've got to get those electrolytes, because if you don't get the electrolytes, your body just can't catch up. And I mean, I have had a couple people that are like, oh, I feel nauseous, or oh, I feel like I have a headache. And I'm like, you got to drink more water. Like, you got to drink more. And typically water alone at that point isn't going to do it. Like, you've got to get like something that's really going to hydrate you. What I found is really, really helpful is just like a little bit of Celtic salt, and literally just right under the tongue. And that will like help so much with that dehydration piece. I do it with my kids if it's a hot Minnesota summer day, which we get, and if they're just like out, I'm like, come here. And they hate the taste of it at first, but I mean, it's like, they literally like turn around. So water is so, and I'm always like, you have to make sure you're drinking enough water. Like, even though you think you're drinking a lot, now you have to drink even more. Like, I don't care if you have to go to the bathroom, like, drink your water.
Yeah, and most people don't drink water, or if they do, they drink a little bit, and they're like, oh, I drink plenty of water. And I'm like, you weigh 180 pounds. So how much do you drink a day? Oh, I'll drink at least probably 2 of those 16-ounce bottles. I'm like, okay, so you're weighing 64 pounds. That's good. No. So let's think half our body weight in ounces. But again, water is not just water. So good, clean, healthy water. We're big RO water, or, distilled water. We use lots of electrolytes. And of course, the Celtic sea salt is huge. But making sure that you're getting the required amount of water every day. This patch works with the body's conductivity, right? Our electrical system, we need water for this to work. Okay. We need to be hydrated, not just drinking, but actually the water into the cells and tissues. And that's what the Celtic sea salt does. That's what the electrolytes do. They pull the water into the cells and tissues. So you want good, clean water. I don't recommend going and getting like a case for $2.99. That's not what I'm talking about. Bad. You're just putting fluoride and chemicals and BH. I don't even know what all that stuff is, right?
Yeah.
We just can't even go there. So water, super important. They're asking again, where did you put your X39 and Aeon? Where were you patching those?
Because I had the shoulder issue. I always say X39 for women. I like to put mine on the back of my neck. Some people say, oh, it bugs me there. Put it under the belly button. But I always tell people, put it on your forehead. I don't care. Like, just put it on. And so, but mine always went on the back of my neck, just because I thought, okay, that's pretty close to where my spot is that bothers me. And then I always put Aeon on the point of pain. So wherever my point of pain is, if it was my knee, I'd put it on my knee. But mine was my back of my neck, right on my shoulder area, that I put that on. And I would just literally like kind of move my shoulder around, and I'd be like, yep, there it is. And that's where it would go. And I have been known to patch with, I think I probably had up to 4 Eon on at one point because the pain was like that bad when I first started. And I was like, how many can I wear? And I was like, I'm just going to keep doing it. And people are going to think I'm just this patch lady and this is me. But I think it really like targeted it for me also.
Yeah, so one patch, just so all you know, one patch gives you 100% of the benefits. The second patch is going to give you an additional 20%. So like earlier
Yep.
when I said 2 glutathione for Trey, 2 glutathione for Brent, that's just a bump, like bump it, right? If you've got something that's acute, you had an acute pain, they have an acute immune system, little flare up, then you multiple patch, right? Just for a short period of time. But
Yeah, I didn't do it for a long time.
yeah, but with Dr. Nicholas, I don't know if you know him or not. He's in our organization. He's been with LifeWave for 15 years, and he found out about LifeWave because of what his wife was dealing with at the time. In Suzanne Summers' book, he read about the glutathione in her book, and then of course contacted the company to get it. He's a chiropractor out in Arizona, but he actually uses Aeon on the spot. And I'll say, okay, before he puts it on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your pain? 8. Okay, here's the Aeon. And he will just hold it up to that pain spot. He'll say, okay, now where is it? A 5. Oh, okay. Well, let's just leave it here a little bit longer. Where's it at now? 3. Okay, fantastic. We'll just leave it here. It'll keep going down. So he's really big on that. Before you even do LifeWave, he'll put Aeon all over those pain spots to be able to, because what happens is when you put the patch on, it's signaling the nerves right underneath the skin, right? That wavelength of light enters through the skin and starts activating right there on the spot. Not that you have to have it there because we know it works systemically. That is a real thing. We can test that and measure that. But we know that when you put it on the spot, X39 sometimes does, but Aeon a lot of times does, and LifeWave always does. So, you know, sometimes LifeWave can be confusing. Like I said, the girl that sent me the picture of her chest today, she had it all in the wrong spots, the LifeWave.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not a clockwise method in any way. So let's watch these videos and move them around. But she didn't have any Aeon, so I couldn't tell her to put that on the spot. So I think that's important. Then they're also asking about your mom. So did your mom, was she using X3949 and did she do a DEXA scan?
So I don't know what her tests were that she did at the doctor. I just know that they tested her every 6 months for her bone density.
Okay.
I don't know what the test was called that they were doing. But she did X39. I believe she was doing X39 Aeon. She wasn't doing Aeon like after the first month or two regularly, but I know she did that to start. Carnosine was regular, and X49. Those were her regular patches that she was doing.
And how old is your mom?
She just turned 69.
Okay. All right. I'm just going through the questions here, and that's what they're asking.
Yep, 69.
So thank you so much for taking the time tonight, Jamie, to have this conversation with me. I know everyone's like, oh my God, I love how you're just having a conversation back and forth, and they're really getting to hear your whole story and listen to everything unfold. And I think that's very powerful and beneficial, you know, not just from a trainer's perspective, you know, working with people in the gym, but also from a mom's perspective and a daughter's perspective and a wife's perspective. You know, we care, right? And we want to help people. So any last things you'd like to share with our audience tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to follow along with me, I have an Instagram page. You're more than welcome to see what I do and how I like to talk to people. And I share stuff all the time. So you can look me up there. And yeah, this is, like I said, this technology and what I've learned from it and what I've seen and helped people. I want to help other people help people is my like biggest thing at this point. And like, how can I do that is hopefully by just sharing more and more.
Well, we had over 500 people on at one point tonight. Thousands of people watch it. So you're going to be helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people with this taking the time out tonight. So I really appreciate you being here. It was great spending time with you in Mexico. I know I'll see you before that. But we're also going to have a lot of fun in Punta Cana later this year. I know. So thank you, Jamie. Thank you for being here. And thank you for all you're doing for LifeWave community.
Thank you.
Get back with the person that invited you. They're going to help you get set up. If you're a guest tonight, they're going to help you answer your questions. We're all connected. All of us work together. So if your person that invited you doesn't have the answer, somebody they know does. So just keep asking. Thank you all. Have a fantastic evening.
Bye.
Bye, guys.